book lovers, Happy New Year and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. So the first week of 2017 has passed and I think that it is time that I share my bookish goals for the new year with you guys. I'm not very good at doing TBRs and sticking to those types of goals, mostly because I like to be spontaneous with my reading and pick things up that I have just heard about and that I'm really excited to read at the time. I don't like to feel trapped in sticking to what I was in the mood to read last week or last month when I made my TBR, and so I'm going to try and keep my resolutions for this year pretty broad for the most part. There is one very specific book that I want to read, but we will get to that probably later in the video. So in keeping it broad, I have a whole list of authors that I've never read, but I've heard some of my favorite booktubers talk about this past year, and so I'd really like to give them a try, as well as a second list of authors that I have read before but have enjoyed so much that I'd like to read a lot more of their works. So without further ado, here are the lists. Authors that I've never read that I'd like to try are Elizabeth Gouge or Gouge. I've heard it said both ways, both on Kate Howe's channel and Emma, the Bookish Princess's channel, but they love her. She's definitely one of their favorite authors, and so I would like to give her a try myself. Elizabeth Gaskell. Now, Elizabeth Gaskell is, I know she's Kate Howe's favorite Victorian author, and I have not read any of her work except for a Bronte biography, which was quite good, but I don't consider it representative of her work because it is not fiction, and I really want to give her Gaskell's fiction a try, so I'm hoping to get to North and South this year. And Muriel Spark, who comes highly recommended from Acacia Ives, as well as Memento Mori, Adam from Memento Mori. I'd like to try Kazuo Ishiguro. I've had The Buried Giant on my shelf for quite a while now. And I'd like to get to Anthony Trollope, as well as Elizabeth Thirkell. Trollope writes about, or really Thirkell writes about the same setting as Trollope does, but of course he wrote about it first. So I'd like to experience the setting for myself, and then see how Thirkell uses the characters from that setting maybe, or just adapts the setting in general. I'd like to see her interpretation. So I think that would be really interesting to read them both in the same year. Also Ali Smith and Mom, E.M. Forster, and Sarah Waters. As for some authors that I'd like to read more of because I've enjoyed them so much, I have Oscar Wilde, who I've already started reading a little more about him. I've read A Picture of Dorian Gray before, but I have not read any of his plays, so I'm starting out this month with The Importance of Being Earnest, which I'm buddy reading with Amanda Center. And I'm probably going to finish that tonight, actually. And so other authors are Neil Gaiman, George Eliot, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Dickens. I know there are so many Dickens lovers on BookTube, and I definitely want to get to perhaps Dombey and Son, Little Dorrit, and David Copperfield. I'd also like to read some more Vonnegut because I enjoy him so much, Jeanette Winterson because I haven't read her in a long time, Toni Morrison because I haven't read her in a long time, Steinbeck, Daphne du Maurier because I loved Rebecca so much this past year, and Thomas Hardy. And finally, the one book that I really, really want to read, the only one that I'm going to be specific about in 2017, is going to be Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Now, I am super embarrassed to admit that I have not read Mansfield Park. I've read 5 out of her 6 most famous novels, and Mansfield Park is the one I haven't read. Now, I haven't really been motivated to read Mansfield Park before because I've heard so many people talk about her heroine, Fanny, as being unlikable and being so different than other Austen heroines, but I think it's about time that I give her a fair chance and see what I think of Mansfield Park. Now, I have time this year. I'd really like to read all of Jane Austen's novels, or reread the ones I have read, of course, and then follow them up with some other books that relate to Jane Austen. So I have Jane Austen's England, Daily Life in the Georgian and Regency periods, and This book will hopefully give me sort of a history of the time period and maybe more insight into the characters. And then the next book that I'd also like to read would be Jane's Fame, How Jane Austen Conquered the World. And I think this one would be sort of a fun look at her legacy and her rise to popularity. And then last but not least, for my literary criticism of Jane, I'd like to read What Matters in Jane Austen, 20 Crucial Puzzles Solved by John Mullen, who is an Austen scholar. And I think this book will be a little more scholarly and a little more specific as to some of the things that happen in the novel and the symbolism behind them, etc. So it should be an interesting read. I hope I get to all of those things in 2017, but I really don't know that I will. 2017 will probably bring some reading changes for me. It's going to be a very transitional time. I'm hopefully going to graduate and probably move, and it'll just be a whole new phase in my life. So I'd love to be able to read more if possible, but there is a chance that just with all the transitions, I'll be reading less. So hopefully that's not the case, but we'll see. I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your reading resolutions for 2017? Where would you like to see my channel go? Personally, I'd like to see my channel just continue to expand the way it's been, and I'd like to do a little more individual reviews. But besides that, I just want to keep reading and keep sharing my reading with you guys. But if you'd like something a little more specific than that, please tell me in the comments down below, and I'll hopefully make it happen. Also, please let me know if you've read any of these authors, where you recommend starting. I know I've asked some of you already, and I have a good idea of some of them where to start, but not all of them, so feel free to leave me your input down below. And please like this video if you did enjoy watching it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Bye!